Start.
Let's wait for like 2 more minutes and then I can start.
Okay, you have some people who have yet to log in. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, yes. Sheetal, is the screen visible?
The screen is visible. So we will wait for 2 more minutes and then we will start.
Yes.
Janvi, I think we are good to go.
Yes, I'll just start.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are starting now. I hand over to my colleague Janvi and welcome to another session with the Go India Advisors. Janvi, over to you.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's knowledge session. I am Janvi Kankaria, a research analyst from Go India Advisors, and with me is Sheetal Khanduja, Head Investor Relations. Go India Stocks knowledge sessions feature companies having strong differentiated business models with ample runway for growth and the ability to become industry game changers. One such company that checks all these boxes is our client company, Sahaj Solar Limited, and we have with us the managing director of the company, Mr. Pramit Brahmbhatt, an MBA and ACCA. He brings over 20 years of experience with expertise in financial advisory and ITES solutions. Under his leadership, the company has experienced remarkable growth, expanding from a 5 megawatt capacity in 2010 to 100 megawatts currently. Just to give a brief introduction on the company, Sahaj is a fast growing renewable energy company which specializes in manufacturing high efficiency solar panels, solar water pumping solutions, and large scale EPC solar projects, with over 70% of critical components produced in house at its fully integrated production facility. The company has achieved a remarkable 3 year revenue CAGR of 48% from FY21 to FY24, with EBITDA increasing 8 times and PAT growing 13 times during the same period. Sahaj is committed to delivering sustainable investor value with a strong ROE of 40%. Further, the company is positioned for exponential growth, scaling from 100 megawatts currently to 1600 megawatts by FY26 with the development of a state of the art 1500 megawatt manufacturing facility in Gujarat. Now I'll hand over to Sheetal to kick off the knowledge session with Mr. Pramit, and we'll open the chat box for questions. Over to you, Sheetal.
Thank you so much, Janvi, for that insightful discussion. And Pramit sir, the one thing which I found very interesting in Janvi's introduction was that the company has grown exponentially from a very small solar manufacturer to a company which is now much bigger, and you are further growing. You are now moving to 1600 megawatt capacity from what it was a single digit few years earlier. So, can you tell us how did you achieve this remarkable feat, and what were the major turning points in the company? And please do weave in your vision for the organization in this question.
Sure. Thanks for your question, Chitra. It was a moment where I managed to be at the right place at right time when I visited Charanka solar power plants in 2010, 2009, when the initial utility scale power plants started in India. And at that time, I visualized and I realized that I think this is going to be the future of India's energy sector. And coming from the service industry, I saw a huge potential coming in this sector. As we had a lot of data available during my financial services day, that how India's energy sector is lagging behind compared to even a BRICS country and all those parameters. And I saw that there is opportunity, and that's what made me interested getting into the solar. And over the years, we learned a lot of things while working with various players, going through the learning curve, and that's what motivated us all these years to get into solar. And as we grew, we saw more opportunities coming in. And as we keep moving on, new and new avenues came, and we tried to grab those opportunities and made our way through where we are right now.
Thank you so much. So, my next question, sir, is that you have multiple segments of the businesses, and each one has its own USP and strong unit economics. So, can you explain us each of your business segments and specific for your growth prospect, who are the customers we will be basically selling those to? So each of the segment, if you can touch those.
Sure. So we are predominantly into solar panel manufacturing as our core product. Apart from panel manufacturing, our main business driver is solar water pumping segment. As the government of India is also quite focused on providing farmers the irrigation facilities to enable them to increase their income. We are one of the oldest and key players in this segment since we are operating in the water pumping segment since 2014-15. Apart from panel and solar water pump, we are also into EPC of CNI segment, specifically the rooftop for the industries and the commercial buildings. So these are broadly three segments where we are operational right now. And the solar panel consumption predominantly is done in our own projects. And apart from that, some panels are sold in the market. But these are the three major drivers right
So, sir, can you tell me that you said that solar panel production is primarily for captive use,
now.
mainly. So, how much of it is sold outside and how much of it is captive?
So approximately 25 to 30% production is sold outside, and balance of whatever the production is done, it is done for own use for own projects.
Okay. And in the water segment, basically. So, can you just elaborate that, what are the activities we undertake in that particular segment? Because I understand that, there is a little bit of, or quite a bit of R&D is involved. And given that you have your in-house manufacturing, uh, uh, quite a bit of key components or critical components, we are manufacturing in-house. So, can you just elaborate on your key activities and how our integrated manufacturing helps?
It's a very interesting question, Sheetal, because when we look at the solar water pumping business, the 45 to 55% component is a solar panel, so which is our in-house manufacturing. Apart from that, the second most expensive component is the solar structure or module mounting structure. That is also fabricated in-house by one of the subsidiary of Sahaj Solar, which is Bharat Energy and Infrastructure. So that is done in-house. Now, apart from this, two things, the another critical component, or you can say a heart of a solar water pumping system, is a controller, which is developed in-house now by another subsidiary of Sahaj called Veracity Powertronics, and we have implemented our own controllers from last 1.5 years, and more than 6,500 pumps are running on our own controller. So these three key components makes out to almost 65 to 70% of the total solar water pumping components, and all are in-house. So it gives us a competitive edge in current time. Also, it gives us a comfort when it comes to the quality parameters and assurance of the output.
So we have a question from participants, a few questions which have started coming. Aman has asked us that, how are you seeing the competitive market as solar companies are coming up with new innovations every now and then? So what is our moat and what are the entry barriers if there are any?
So it's a um, there are in terms of when we look at the solar as a segment, there are different areas to be considered. One is a solar panel manufacturing, one is a EPC. Even against within the EPC, we have a quite a good amount of variety like solar water pumping business, off-grid system business, CNI segment, and the utility scale. So we are one of the unique company where we have quite a good advantage where we are not only a panel manufacturer but our subsidiary manufacture other components. And also we have a good strength, in-house strength for the EPC. So that brings an edge to us. Definitely, panel manufacturing itself, the only entry barrier which it has is a capex and the working capital requirement. But apart from that, technology-wise, it's a pretty wide open technology. But execution of the project and utilization of your own product within those projects, that gives us an edge over the competition.
Sir, you specifically mentioned about the fact that execution is the key thing besides the capex and the working capital. So, can you elaborate, like how large is the working capital cycle, or what is the the key thing which you have to keep a watch on that? And the other thing is that. Uh, how does the execution prowess stand in, basically, what is it, how does it make you stand out, given that you feel that this is your biggest strength?
So, when we look at the working capital requirement apart from capex, because capex is required one time in a solar panel manufacturing, but working capital is a good amount of investment required for the panel manufacturing as well as when it comes to the Kusum and the other EPC, specifically government-driven projects. First of all, the majority of the raw material are imported, or some of them are procured locally. So the raw material procurement cycle is almost 35 to 40 days. And after that, it takes around 15 days to the conversion of the goods. So it's almost a 55 to 60 days a cycle to convert the raw material, to buy the raw material and convert into the finished goods. And then to the supply logistics and receiving the payment. So it's a basically a 90-day cycle. So that is a one end where you need a working capital when you're manufacturing the panels. And the same way when you're executing the project, after procurement of equipments and components, you execute the projects and process your bills to various departments and receive your payment. So that also takes around 3 to 3.5 months time. So all over, it's a good amount of, if your business cycle is say 400 crore or 500 crore, almost 25 to 30% of your total turnovers working capital is required. So that is a small entry barrier. I consider that for the new entrant, and where it makes a difference with us because since we are uh, operating in this field from long time, we have more than 10 years of experience executing solar water pump, the other feeder-based projects and farmer-based projects like a grid type projects for various departments. In last 10 to 11 years, we have developed our strength, understanding and analyzing the requirement, deploying the team and the working capital as well as the component based on the urgency of the projects. We have a good amount of project execution team within house as well as outside contractors who can execute the projects within the stipulated time frame. And majority of these Kusum projects are time bound, so 120 days is the time you get to execute it. And from many years, we are executing these projects within the time bound. So we have developed in-house edge to execute the project and procurement. So the whole supply chain, along with the execution, has been taken in a stride in last few years.
Okay. So we have quite a few questions from the participants, and I will take it in the right order. So we have again a question from Aman, who is saying that how long does it take you to pass your RM cost inflation to customers, and there any control mechanism on raw material cost
Okay.
or
So,
some kind of hedging policy?
sure. So, whenever we are getting any project, we have some forecast of the cost. And while bidding for the project, those forecasts kept in the mind with some sort of a variation expectation. While executing the project, we keep the control by either providing advances and the orders to our vendors to lock in the price. At the same time, we keep eye on the market, international market for the metal movement, commodity movement to forecast where the market is going. And if we see that the market is going, the prices are going to go up, we make sure that we book the raw material from our suppliers well in advance to avoid any sort of price hike.
All right. We have a question. I'm just going to take some more questions, which Nilesh was the first one who asked question, and I'm very sorry I took it late. He's asking what is the current order book. So if you can throw some light on that.
Sure. So recently we published a notification on NSE where we have declared that we have 436 crore of order book as of now.
Okay. Thank you so much. So the next question, I'm taking up some questions on competitive questions right now. So Rishit Zaveri wants to know, can you throw some light on anti-soil coated panel, which can be a USP for Sahaj? So can you just explain about this particular
Sure.
product?
Sure. So recently we tied up with this Dutch company where the nanotechnology coating is applied on the solar panels, and the results are amazing. Where we have seen not only the dusting on the panel is reduced, but it has also given performance enhancement to the panel. And that is expected to be the next big thing in the solar industry, where operation and maintenance cost is increasing day by day. As we are a renewable company, we also have to look at the environment friendly operations, where if we can come up with the coating where the water usage to clean the panel is reduced, definitely we are contributing towards the environment. So this coating is not only going to increase the performance and increase the revenue of the consumer, but it is also going to be a environment friendly coating. So there are multiple advantages, and I think Sahaj is going to get a good advantage. Sahaj will be the first company within the country to implement integrated coating line with our new production line. And this will be entirely a Dutch technology where we're going to implement coating and manufacture a panel within the same premises. So already we have a good amount of inquiries from major players, specifically cement plants and the steel plants, where the dust and carbonization is quite high during their production cycle, and they are suffering from these challenges. During our trial days, we have given them some sort of proof of concept quoting, and they are quite happy. So I think this is something going to help Sahaj to grow the business in a bigger way.
So, sir, on this particular, the Dutch technology you were talking about, so is it a technology tie-up or is it going to be coming in one of the subsidiaries? Can you explain how the tie-up is going to work, or what will be the contours of it?
So this is a tie-up where the Dutch company owns the patented technology on the glass coating, and we're going to be their partner to implement that in our own plants. We have set up an subsidiary called Sahaj PV Ancillary that is specifically set up for the glass coating, because when we going to do the glass coating, it will be in a subsidiary of Sahaj, and at arm's length, those glass will be after coating sold to Sahaj. And at the same time, we see a future demand coming from the other players as well. And as we grow, I think we wanted to keep this as a separate segment. It has a huge requirement, not only for the new panel, but also for the retrofit panel where the old solar panels are installed, where we can provide a kind of a coating services to those clients. So I think that is the reason we have incorporated a separate company to drive this segment.
There are quite a few questions from the participants. Satish wants to know that where do you import the cells needed for making the modules? And in total cost of module, how much percentage does cell cost?
Okay. So there are two different kind of demands we have for solar modules. One is called DCR solar modules and another are non-DCR solar modules. So DCR solar modules, DCR stand for domestic content requirement. It means those solar modules where the solar cell and majority of the material is purchased from India. In that case, we purchase the solar cell from the Indian cell suppliers. But majority of the non-DCR modules are used by the where we use the cell imported from China, Taiwan, Vietnam, depending on the project requirement. As the supply chain for solar modules, majority of the cell suppliers, whether it is in China or Southeast Asian countries, is driven by the Chinese manufacturer. So 90% of the supply chain is controlled by them. So that's why where it's coming from when it is a non-DCR model from China.
All right. Um, we also have a question from Rizal. He's saying how much of the expanded capacity is planned to be used for solar water pumps, and
Yes,
yeah,
sorry, to
he
interrupt. We didn't add. So when it comes to DCR module, 65% cost of the module is solar cell, and when it comes to non-DCR modules, is around 35 to 40% cost of the module is solar cell. Sorry, we did not put that part.
No problem. Thank you for clarifying. I think we can take Rizal's question, who's asking that of the expanded capacity, how much will be used for solar water pumps? And if you can also give approximate breakup for solar pump uses, own EPC projects and outside supply of the expanded capacity, how will that be split into the two categories?
So in the first phase, we are looking at 750 megawatt. Practically, we are expecting that in the last quarter of this upcoming financial year, we'll have a full 750 megawatt installed and up and running. So we are expecting to operate at 70% capacity in the last quarter. So that will be around 500 megawatt of the capacity. So if you consider the last quarter per se, there will be almost 30% of the capacity will be utilized for own consumption for Kusum B or other Kusum driven projects, and around 60 to 70% projects capacity will be sold outside, including our own EPCs. So if we look at the broad breakdown, around 40% will be in-house consumption, including Kusum and EPC, and 60% will be to the clients.
Okay, thank you. We have another question, and then I will come to the overseas operations. I'll come to after we finish the India part. So we have a question from Hishit. He's asking that how will government initiatives in Maharashtra help Sahaj gain market share? So if you can talk about India's vision for solar and how we are going to be
Sure.
uh,
It's
playing
a
a part.
very interesting question. As government has committed to increase the farmers' income from where it was in 2015-16, and government vision was to increase by two times by 2022. As a part of that commitment, there's a huge initiative is taken for Kusum B and solar water pumping system across India. And one of the biggest beneficiary of the solar water pumping system is Maharashtra. As a out of total capacity available, almost 25 to 27% capacity is allocated to Maharashtra, as Maharashtra is one of the biggest agriculture driven state. And Sahaj being a part of Kusum B scheme, we are right now executing around 6,000 water pump. Almost 4,000 of them are executed, and 2,000 will be executed before end of this financial year. And for the next Kusum scheme also, we participated, we qualified in MSCDCL, and out of that 2,000 pumps are allocated to us. So we expect to execute those pumps in the first quarter of next financial year. In the same way, another nodal agency called MEDA has also tendered, and we are expecting some allocation coming from MEDA in March. So if we get around 2,000 allocation like last time what we got, again those 2,000 will execute by first half of the financial year. So all in all, like we expect that in this coming financial or upcoming financial year, we have a good opportunity to work in Maharashtra. Around 6 to 8 thousand pounds we can execute, which is not part of order book we have declared, because we have declared only 2,000 pounds as a part of our order book where the order is already been received. So there is a upside opportunity coming in from Maharashtra as well.
Okay, that's insightful. A couple of questions around uh, order book also. So, out of the 436 crore order as of 31st December, this is a question from Manik Ravichandran. How much is expected to be completed by Q4?
So out of 436 crore, around 60 to 70 crore will be completed by Q4 25.
All right. Thank you so much. And Rizal wanted to know, do we have any plans to backward integrate into solar cells in-house manufacturing in future?
We are exploring the cell technology right now. It is a very complex technology. Definitely, as a panel manufacturer, it's our ambition and dream to get into the solar cell manufacturing, and we are working to evaluate the technology. Uh, as and when the right time comes, we'll definitely make a move and make an announcement. But we are not anything for next 6 to 9 years.
Just one housekeeping question which had come initially in the chat was, are we on track to achieve the 1500 megawatt capacity by Q1 of FY26? Is that plan on schedule?
So what we decided is that 750 megawatt is something what we are going to implement first. The construction of the building is going on for that, and the construction expected to complete by middle of May or end of May, and then the machinery implementation will be finished by uh, August or first week of September. So that first 750 megawatt will go live in the middle of September. And as soon as that one is going live, we'll initiate the second phase. We are quite likely that we'll implement that phase also either by Q4 25-26 or in the first quarter of 26-27,
So by FY27, we can expect the full capacity to be
by
online.
the first half of 27, yes.
Perfect. All right. A related question is that, as about 40 to 50 crore, and this is from Ganesh Amanya, as about 40 to 50 crore is needed for upcoming capacity expansion for 1600 megawatt. How would this be funded? Also, at targeted 65% capacity utilization, what is the yearly revenue potential?
Yes, so 40 to 50 crore is not for 1500 megawatt, it is for 750 megawatt. And out of that, 30 crore term loan has been sanctioned and the disbursement has started from Yes Bank, and that's how the construction of the building has started. Again, for the second half, when we go for the second round, we will go for one more term loan at that point of time and utilize that for the second round of 750 megawatt of expansion.
All right. So I think,
And capacity utilization wise, when we talk about 436 crore order book, definitely that panel cell is not considered. But if we consider 60% of the capacity utilization in last quarter, that amounts to around 125 megawatt of manufacturing in the last quarter. 60% of 125, that comes to around 70-75 megawatt. So 30 to 35 megawatt out of that would be sold outside. When we look at 35 megawatt, we are selling outside, and looking at the existing rate, that will contribute around 50 to 60 crore of revenue in the last quarter.
all right. So, sir, there has been a lot of question around guidance, and I thought I'll keep it to for the end of the discussion.
Yeah.
But I think people want to know that upfront. So,
Okay.
multiple guests have asked us, and Mr. Ravi Chandran has specifically reiterated, okay, what is the projections for FY25 and 26 for revenue and PAT? But one more thing in this, I would like to also add is that Ganesh.
To previous financial year.
All right. Okay. So we have a question from Sahil, who is asking that by when are you expecting to start the first phase of 1.5 gigawatt module making? I think you answered that
Yes.
just now. And what will be so his next question? I think is needs to be addressed. What will be our sales mix after the new enhanced capacity?
So, as we are expecting to grow our revenue in next financial year, which is 25-26, by 50 to 60% from our financials for 24-25 financials. So the mix is going to change in a way where pumping, solar water pumping is still going to be predominantly a major driver, but panel volume and the EPC volume specifically from the CNI and other segment will increase. So we think that as the base of the revenue is increasing, uh, the absolute number of water pumping is still going to increase, but in terms of the percentage, that may come down from 65 percentage to around 50 to 45 percentage.
Thank you. We have a question now on the overseas business. And I think so that is something which probably you needed to talk about also. So
Absolutely.
Ganesh is asking that, the 20 megawatt power plant in Uganda, what could be the revenue potential? And similarly, what is the revenue potential for FY26 from Africa?
So, when we are looking at the forecast of 50 to 60% revenue growth in 25-26 from the revenue of 24-25, we have not considered any of the revenue coming from Africa. So, whatever the revenue will come from Africa will be on and above that growth trajectory. Now, answering this 20 megawatt of PPA project. So, what we have seen a very unique opportunity in Africa, specifically in Eastern and Southern Africa, where we see there is an opportunity to work as a EPC as well as a power plant developer, and sometimes the opportunity is a combined. So this 20 megawatt of the power plant which we are doing in Uganda, that is EPC is done by Sahaj as a parent company, and the power plant is owned by the subsidiary set up by Sahaj in Uganda. So we are getting a revenue coming to Sahaj from the EPC, Sahaj India from EPC activity. At the same time, there will be a recurring income within the Uganda from the power selling activity. So the project cost is estimated at around $18 million. That definitely EPC cost based on the local circumstances.
Okay. Um, we have a question from Sahil who's asking that do we also plan to sell to IPPs and megawatt level projects through our enhanced module capacity?
That's a very interesting question, and yes, definitely when we discuss about the anti-soiling coating, that's where we are, getting an edge on our modules, and precisely we have many inquiries from a specific industry where they are suffering from the dusting and the carbon uh, components where panels are getting, covered with dust and the carbon. So we are in discussion with the many players who wants this solution, and apart from that as well, we have a good client base from our earlier days where we dealt with few MNCs and a few developers where we supplied the modules. And once we increase the capacity, we're going to have some strategic ties as well as some regular supply to the bigger players. So yes, to answer that question, yes, IPP, the independent power producer, we're going to supply our modules in a big way.
Great. I had a question, sir, around your, basically the management strength and, what kind of leadership team you have, because this is a very, it's not an easy business to execute, as you rightly said. So, can you tell me a little about, the strength of your organization and the kind of experts you have to carry out your business?
So very interesting question, and I would like to share the kind of efforts we are making as an organization to grow from SME to differently. So as an organization, we have a in-house team of project execution, project design, procurement, apart from the conventional team of finance and other department. So, in-house office team is more than 50 people now, based out of Ahmedabad office. Apart from the production has its own team of 60 people. Subsidiary has their own team of 25 to 30 people. Now, with the upcoming growth trajectory, what we have seen that where we are going. So we see there is a geographical expansion is necessary where we are working on, and that is happening in the eastern and northeastern parts. So now we are operational in Lucknow, in Guwahati, and we are participating in some of the projects in Odisha. So that's where we are expanding with the local offices, and we have built a good team initially to work on in this area. uh, as a part of constant development of our team, we have initiated a L&D program 6 months back in the month of June, July, where the organization has identified the potential leader within the company and how do we groom them, how do we develop their skills within their own area and overall as a leader. So that is a 2 years program we have initiated, and we are seeing a good results in first 6 to 7 months. Apart from that, also for the internal controls and strengthening our finance system, we are constantly upgrading our ERP, and we have a transformation consultant team working with us who are looking into what are the expected changes we need to make within our organizations. So we are not only growing business wise, but we are even strengthening our internal team and making them enable to sustain the growth of the company.
Okay. We had a question which was unanswered, and I apologize for that, Mr. Ganesh. So he's asking that Kusum C entry, how significant it is and what does it hold in future?
Okay, that is also something I would like to share with you. So we participated in Kusum C scheme in Gujarat, and 16.5 megawatt bid we have won. In few months time, the official PPA will be signed with the government department. Apart from that, we have aggressively and very actively now participating into few more feeder layer solar powerization schemes where 8 megawatt of new bids are submitted, and these are like not you have to bid for it, but it is like open for all the clients or a developer who wants to come and set up the power plant near the existing substation and the feeder. So we have done 8 megawatt of applications, and since it is no like bidding or process, those applications are approved and in the process of the second step now. Within that process also we are planning to go up to 50 megawatt. And that is the reason we have set up another subsidiary where we going to hold the the work as a developer and hold these assets. So the dual advantage we will have, Sahaj as a parent company will do the EPC and supply the goods as the subsidiary is going to own these assets. So we'll have not only the EPC business coming in, but there will be a recurring revenue coming from this the power as a power producer. And we see that as an upcoming business. We are in process of establishing the whole department not only to work with the government PPA, but there are a lot of opportunities available to work with the private sectors where a cluster of 40 to 50 megawatt of power plant can be set up, and investment grade consumers who have a investment rating can be a client who can buy this power from us, and there's a huge demand coming up for that. So we are also in process of working that, and that will be completely a new segment. We will see that operational, fully operational, and giving some sort of a result in the second half of the next financial year. And all this is not part of our revenue forecast or order book because these are all still under the pipeline work. So we have conservatively not considered as a part of our order book.
Interesting. Rishit is asking that what is your IP in PV module, and what is the efficiency of your PV module, and how do you plan on doing R&D going forward?
Okay, so the upcoming solar manufacturing facility is going to cater the TOPCon solar cell, which is comparatively higher efficiency than the monomer. So the cell efficiency is going to go up to 25%. And when we look at the module efficiency, that will be up to 24 23.5 to 24.5% module efficiency, which is a quite significant compared to the monopark efficiency, which is around 21.5%. So that efficiency is going to increase. Definitely in the R&D side, as we earlier discussed, we have done the R&D with the coating, so that is helping us to increase the performance of the module. We are also designing some different sizes of module, which is very helpful in the transportation. And the same time, we can get an additional revenue by reducing the cost of transportation. So it increases to our profitability, which is a rectangle size of module where the cell size is not square, but it is a rectangle. So we are working on a different kind of ways out. Certain things is still under the process, so I would not like to discuss it at this stage. But these are the two main things where we are working with the top line and the anti-surf.
Thank you. We have a question from Rishit who is asking that can you throw some lights on how consultants will help us enter the private plant clusters?
Sorry, Sheetal, I lost you
Yeah,
briefly. Can you
sorry.
repeat?
Yeah, so Rishit is asking that can you throw some light on how consultants will help us enter the private plant clusters?
Okay, so for that, as I said, we are creating the whole segment or a team within the organization. Apart from that, we are also discussing the same thing with our dealers, partners, who work very closely with the companies in the different capacity, and they are the one who introduce us to these clients who has a power requirement. Some of this client has a power requirement as a part of their RPO requirement as a renewable power obligation, and some of them has a requirement as a power is their main raw material. And the power, if they save the power cost, their production cost comes down. So different kind of consultants we work with. Some of those who design the electrification of the plant, some of them who work on the energy audit, and some of them who has already worked with those clients in the previous time. So it's a bunch of consultant we discuss with and try to bring them on board for project to project basis.
Great, thank you so much. So Ganesh has a question. So he has a question that do you get timely payments? Is there a robust system for that? As most are government orders. And in continuation to that, I wanted to ask you if you can also tell us what is the split of the government and the non-government order book, and how do you see it moving ahead? How the split will change?
So the government schemes are implemented in a very professional way these days. These schemes, specifically the Kusum C, Jal Jeevan Mission, or where we work with border security forces to solarize their requirement. Uh, it is very important to know that some majority of these projects are specifically the water related projects are a joint effort or effort of the central government and the state government. And the mechanism has been developed in last few years where there is a provision that both the parties put their contribution in a single account, and based on that the projects are approved and awarded. So projects are approved and awarded based on the fund availability. So you can hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
So the projects are approved and awarded based on the fund availability. Actually, money is within the account. So sometimes maybe due to the administrative reason or operational reason, there can be some delay, but the funds are always available. So the scenario has changed a lot in last few years. Uh, Definitely the split between the government order and the private order right now, significantly orders are from government, more than 80-85% orders are from government. But as we become operational with the modules, so in the last quarter of 25-26, we see that for that particular quarter, we will see the change coming to 75-25 kind of a percentage. And in the going further down the year, we'll see kind of a 60 to 40% kind of a ratio, government to the private projects.
All right. Mr. Prabhat, I will come to your question in a bit. But before that, Rizal is asking that any plans to increase the MMS structures manufacturing capacity going ahead beyond 1.5 gigawatt. And he also wants to know what is the MMS manufacturing capacity at present under the subsidiary company.
There is no MMS manufacturing capacity of 1.5 gigawatt. It's a solar panel manufacturing capacity which we are
Yes.
expanding to 1.5 gigawatt. The existing MMS manufacturing capacity is to cater our in-house requirement, and we supply some of the structure for Jal Jeevan Mission as well as for the Kusum B schemes. As we are expanding, we have vision to bring expanding the capacity where we can deal with the utility scale client as well. But that's something we're going to consider in the second half of the next financial year. Right now, we have no plan to expand the module mounting structure expansion capacity.
Okay. Prakash wants to know, would you be able to provide an idea of the revenue split of the different verticals, and also advise if the solar pumps opportunity will continue to grow for the next 10 years, or it'll be completely done in the next few years?
Right, so very interesting. So first part, I earlier briefed about the split. Say around 65% is a pumping, but when we go for a module and the base increases, solar water pumping will reduce to 55% to 60% of the base. But it's a very interesting question that Kusum B is coming to end by March 26, and there is something else is going to come. It's called Kusum 2, where the feeder or the farm level solarization is going to done. So the difference between the Kusum B and the Kusum 2 will be whenever the pumps will be free, those extra power or the power which is not used to run the pump will be fed into the grid, and that's why the inverter will be installed. There will be two part of Kusum 2. One is existing pump owner who has installed a conventional pump running from the grid. Over there, the inverter and the solar system will be installed, and there will be a control unit installed which will automatically switch over the power from pump to grid and supply to the grid when the pump is not utilized. And the second will be again the new pump will be installed with controller and inverter. In the same scenario, when the pumps are not used, power will be fed back to the grid. So that is called Kusum 2. And we are very proud to inform you that the first few pilot projects are done in few states. And Tripura is one of the first state who is doing this sort of a pilot, where we are one of the we are the lowest bidder, and we have a 1,350 pump allocation, which we announced few weeks back. So we will have that advantage and the edge to install those pumps now, even before the scheme comes into the existence, and we'll have a good experience of implementing the scheme, identifying the challenges. We already developed the controller which is going to do automatic switch over from the pump to the inverter and vice versa, and that has been implemented. So by next week, it is even the first round of physical installation is going to happen in Tripura, along with all the automation, all the data going to the cloud. So when we install first pump of kind of a Kusum 2, we have all the automation is done, the cloud data pushing has been done, so everything is available. So we'll have a kind of a 1 year advantage getting into that scheme. And Kusum 2 is again going to continue for next many years. As you know, farmer are one of the backbone of India's economy where when it comes to employment, and providing them water is very important. So government is going to continue with that. In the same way, if you have seen in the new budget, the Jal Jeevan mission has been extended to 2028. So that also one of our project where we are working. So I think these two projects going to continue at least for next 5 to 7 years. It looks like that.
Okay. We have a very interesting question from Mr. Prakash, and it's on your peer. So he's asking that in Kusum 2, Shakti pumps claim to be the automated distribution of running the pump and at the same time feeding electricity. So he wants to know if this is true. And he also wants to know, do we have similar capabilities as Shakti pumps in solar pumps?
So I just answer that we have already developed that capability to feed in the power directly into the grid, and we are implementing in practically next week. Already everything is tested and trial in our own R&D by our R&D teams from last 3 to 4 months, even up to the meter reading level we have done. So as soon as we install next week, the data can be available directly to MNRE online portal. So we are at par with them.
Brilliant. We have a question from Rizal. He's asking that in November to January period, there was a bit of slowdown in the government projects awards. Has it now started getting back on track as compared to last year? As we also had an election last year, so he wants to know if everything is back on track after the slowdown.
So it depends on which projects we are discussing, but Kusum B is more like a yearly or 2 yearly program, and then each state comes up with their own company. So it's a constantly going on process. There could be in the certain state or certain category it could be slowed down, but as we speak that one thing I would like to add that as 436 crore of order book we are having, but at the same time we have bidded for more than 1200 crore projects as well. So the bidding process is never ending on our side. So that can, I'm not sure that which particular segment was slowed down, but for us, we are constantly bidding for the projects. And right now, almost 1200 crore projects are bidded, and we are waiting result in next few months.
Great. So I don't think so. We have any further questions, but there is still some questions around the guidance because Mr. Prabhat joined late. So, sir, if you can give your closing remarks and also talk about your FY25 and 26 revenue and PAT projections, and then we can close the session.
Sure. So for FY 24-25, as I mentioned earlier, that we are looking at 60 to 80% growth on revenue, and we expect to have the same similar line of margin what we had in 24-25. And for 25-26, we are expecting 50 to 60% of growth of 24-25 order book overall turnover.
Great. So I think all questions are addressed, and thank you so much. It was very insightful. So if you can give your closing remarks, and then we can wind up the session.
Sure. So, being a solar company into various segments, we think we have very unique propositions to serve. And as a company, we have good aspirations to grow not only in Indian market, but we see a huge opportunity overseas as well. And we are very thankful to all our customers, all our team members, and all our investors who have shown faith in us till now. And we assure them that, the company is there to perform year on year basis and for the long term, and still a lot of things to come as the industry evolve, as the company evolve, and we're going to keep doing new things to take the company to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. In case you have any additional queries or want to reach out to him for a one-on-one discussion, please reach out to Jhanvi, and she will help you out with your queries and any further meetings. Thank you. With this, we wrap up the session. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.